Hello everyone, welcome back, and I hope you guys have had a fantastic Christmas, or if you don't celebrate Christmas, I hope you guys have just had a fantastic holiday and a lovely time, hopefully with your families or your loved ones. I am going to start off by apologising about the current lighting situation. It's just got really dark and gloomy as soon as I was about to sit down and film, and I don't really have any other time to film this video really until the new year, so I'm just dealing. We're dealing, we're moving. So yeah, this is what you're getting. I'm really sorry, but here we are. As you guys can obviously tell from the title, this is a video kind of just basically about my favourite books from 2023. Obviously there have been so many that I've read, and so I'm just going to pick my top 3 favourite books today, and also to really just discuss with you guys like my reading habits and trends throughout 2023 and just sort of look back on it, I guess. So really, I think 2023 is the first year in a really long time that I've properly gotten back into reading. I started my reading journey, as you guys know, back in 2022 when I read ACOTAR, and honestly that just holds such a place in my heart for that series, bringing me back to the world of reading and reminding me why I love reading so much. And I'm sure you guys all have a series or a singular book like that. The ACOTAR series for me was definitely that, and I'm so excited that at the end of January her next one is coming out. I have pre-ordered it, so I'm so excited. But it's been a slow development into it. As you guys I'm sure know, it can be really tough to figure out where you sit within the world of reading. Before I sort of got back into reading, I was a very big YA fantasy reader. That's pretty much all I read. I didn't really realise that there was books available for fantasy lovers that weren't high fantasy, like Lord of the Rings or sci-fi. And I love Lord of the Rings, it's one of my favourite all-time reads, but it's not necessarily a book I'd want to read on a regular basis. So this year has really been about me trying to push out of my comfort zone to find new series, to find new books that I love, and to just get back into that habit of reading. And so without further ado, I'm just gonna jump into the 3 books that really turned things around for me this year and that were my top 3. There have been so many. I don't actually know how many books I've read. I've not really kept track this year. I'm gonna try and find out. I'm gonna try and calculate it, but I don't know off the top of my head how many books I've read this year, but there are some that really stood out to me. The first one is A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, which is part of the From Blood and Ash series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. The From Blood and Ash series it's been fantastic for me because it's really shown me that there can be more than one type of series that I like. And that sounds really stupid, but sometimes I get a bit fixated on series and I kind of can't believe that there'd be something that matches the prowess of a series that I love, and From Blood and Ash really showed me that there are other series available that are similar to ACOTAR, that are nothing like ACOTAR. Contradictory, I know, but it makes sense, honestly. Like, it really turned things around, and for me, I've got a real thing about second and third books in the series. I don't know what it is, but I always seem to prefer the second or third in a series, and I think that partially stems from the fact that I like to be invested. So if I'm picking up the second book, I've obviously absolutely loved the first book, and I'm pretty sure I gave From Blood and Ash a 4.5 or a 5 star. I do actually have an entire video based on my review of that, which I'll link up here if you guys want to check it out later. I loved the first book and I devoured it. So when I got to the second book, I was beginning to be really invested, and there's just something about the revelations of this book, the way Poppy's journey grows and her character develops, but also how we focus on some of these other characters and their developmental arcs within it as well. I just thought was really fantastic, and just the plot twists were just phenomenal. I really feel like I didn't see them coming, and there's a lot that you just really would never expect, and for me, I loved that. And that book is definitely a 5-star review, and the whole series is just absolutely phenomenal. So if you guys want a series to read, I would recommend that. My second book, actually, it's not technically the same series, but it's the prequel series to the From Blood and Ash collection, and that is A Fire in the Flesh, which is actually the third book of the prequel series, which follows the First Maiden. So it shows her story, how that developed, and I think yet again it's this thing about preferring the second or third books in a series. For me also, the first book, it took a while because there were so many parallels between the From Blood and Ash series and A Shadow in the Ember series. It really took me a minute to be able to separate them, because for me it just I don't know, briefly I was really struggling with how similar those series were, and it took me a minute to kind of separate them in my mind. But once I did, I really enjoyed them. But yet again, it's that first book syndrome where you have to get into the series. The third one for me just had a lot of action, a bit of spice. I do love some spice in my books, but also just revelations and journeys. And for me, I really enjoy a strong storyline with a lot going on, and it doesn't necessarily have to be battles and big dramatic things, but I do like my stories to be meaty, which I really felt particularly with the third one. There was a lot of meat and a lot of substance in it, and a lot of gritty story stuff, which yet again for me is just so important. Like, I really feel like I want to know characters inside out and to understand their motivations and to understand why stuff is happening. So for me, that was just fantastic and I absolutely loved it. My third book is not part of that series. It is actually Fourth Wing. I know I'm gonna sound like every other basic reading girl in the world at the moment by having Fourth Wing on my top 3 for 2023. First off, can we just also admire my gorgeous limited edition cover that I got from Waterstones? It's absolutely divine. I love it, and it has a bonus chapter, which has been fantastic. I love a bonus chapter, kind of. That's a whole other story. Maybe I should do a video on that. Anyway, Fourth Wing for me, yet again, was another example of showing me a series that could compete with a series I love, but being completely different. This book is definitely a situation of, if you loved Eragon as a kid, you will absolutely love Fourth Wing. There were definitely some parallels and some moments where I'm like, I feel like you may have used Eragon as an inspiration. The story is so good. It's got modern writing and modern language, which doesn't feel forced within the book, but it's got consequences. And I know that might sound really stupid, but sometimes I get really frustrated with like plot armor and people not getting injured or passing or something not happening just because of a plot. So for me, this book, it felt like actions had consequences and that what happened would really happen in the real world because it was explained and the consequences were genuine. So I loved that because I felt like you could get invested and you could feel like this could actually happen, which is why I loved it so much. Also, let's just point out the fact that this was released in April, and then there was such a hype about Iron Flame, which also is a fantastic book. It was definitely up there in my top 10 this year. But there was such a hype from a book that was only released in April that I think it really shows how phenomenal this book is and how important it is to acknowledge the incredible writing of Rebecca Yarros. And I think I'm going to sort of leave it there at the books and just have a little chat with you guys about my reading patterns, what I sort of discovered this year, and that I find it really difficult to try new books just because I get comfortable. I like books that I know how to read, particularly with my dyslexia. Like, it can just be really difficult sometimes for me to get into a new series because I have to get into the writing style and understand it, and that can take me a hot minute. So I did definitely notice this year that I spent a lot of time rereading stuff. I think that's also because my job has been incredibly stressful this year. It's been incredibly busy. There's been a lot just going on. So I think that I fell into habits, but I have bought a couple of new books this year that I intend to get through. That being said, I think there's like at least 3 or 4 books that I've pre-ordered that come out in the next few weeks and months. I think I've got one at the end of this month, one at the end of next month, one in like April, and one in like May. So certainly for the next few months there are some big books coming out that I'm going to read, and there's a couple of series that I'm really like making an effort to read, so I think I'm going to try and change that over the next year. Honestly, it's just been a wild year, really. And really, I mean, that's all I've got to say on my year. I don't really know what else to add for this video. As you guys know, I'm still relatively new to the whole YouTube world, to the whole booktube world, and I'm still really finding my feet. So any advice or preferences you guys have with styles of videos that I do, backgrounds, content, anything at all, give me a shout in the comments because I'm always so fascinated. As well, I am going to start trying to be a bit more consistent on my other social medias. I do have a TikTok and an Instagram page, so I will link those down below, and do check them out because I'm going to really make an effort this year to try and just be more on it and to be more present on social media, because I absolutely love being on social media, engaging with you guys, and just social media is fun for me, okay? Like, I love being able to chat with you guys about books. So Ivy has joined us for our farewells. I can't believe that my next video is actually going to be in 2024. That is absolutely wild. But do make sure that you guys have subscribed, you've got your notifications turned on, because I want to make sure that you guys don't miss a single episode of all the exciting content that I have planned for 2024. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you guys have a fantastic day and happy reading. Bye guys.